Good morning friends, I am Ashish Agarwal from Team NGO Enabler and today I will discuss a very important topic, Code of Governance for NGOs. Before moving on to the topic in detail and providing you with the rationale behind it, let me make you aware that this Code of Governance was released by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in 2009, which I will be discussing with you today along with some relevant extracts from various other publications as well. With the constant lens of the government over the activities of NGOs and intense scrutiny being done under various prevalent acts, it's very important now for the management to ensure good governance in their organizations. Even from the donor's perspective, it's the governance in any organization that matters the most because it's only good governance that can ensure effective functioning, accountability, transparency, responsibility and sustainability of any organization. I repeat, it's only good governance that can ensure effective functioning, accountability, transparency, responsibility and sustainability of any organization. Before partnering with any organization, the donor agency usually conducts due diligence or pre-grant assessment to ensure that a good governance structure is in place or not. As rightly mentioned in the Preface of ICAI publication, governance is all about fairness, accountability, transparency, equity and ethics. Even as per the article published in the International Journal of Advanced Scientific Research and Management in 2019, governance is the systems and processes concerned with ensuring the overall direction, effectiveness, supervision and accountability of an organization. So let's discuss what are the governance principles and code of governance. First principle, the governance framework shall promote transparent and efficient non-government organizations within the legal and regulatory framework of the country and also within the international regulatory norms. A NGO with good corporate governance framework should comply with the law of the land and international regulations, be sensitive to the local culture and customs, be transparent in their decision making and operations, be accountable to their stakeholders including the government, the local community, beneficiaries, employees and volunteers. Coming to the second principle, the governance framework should facilitate participation of stakeholders in key decisions such as modification of the vision and mission and nomination and election of trustees or board members and major shift in the mode of functioning. Any NGO with a perfect corporate governance framework should respect the right of all permanent stakeholders established by law, mutual agreement or otherwise to participate in key decision making, give opportunity to stakeholders to ask questions to the board of trustee or the board of directors including those relating to the use of funds, to include an item in the agenda of general meetings subject to reasonable limitations, encourage stakeholders to submit suggestions on effective and efficient operations. Non-government organizations shall furnish timely and sufficient information to their stakeholders. Third principle says the governance framework should promote ethical practices in transacting with donors, volunteers and beneficiaries. I repeat, the governance framework should promote ethical practices in transacting with donors, volunteers and beneficiaries. Any NGO with good corporate governance framework shall follow ethical practices in transacting with donors such as disclosure of full information about the end use of resources and not dealing with the donors which have been accused of following unacceptable practices such as using recipient organizations for vested interests. Follow ethical practices internally and will develop mechanism to address grievances of volunteers and employees. Adopt a whistleblower policy. Formulate a code of conduct for trustees, volunteers and employees. The fourth principle says the governance framework should ensure that timely and accurate disclosure is made on all material matters regarding the organization, including the financial position, performance, and governance of the organization. Disclosures should include, but not be limited to, material information on the objective of the organization, policy regarding recruitment of employees, volunteers, and their compensation, which we call human resource policy, remuneration policy for members of the board of trustees or board of directors and key executives, and information about the board members, foreseeable risk factors, and any punitive action taken or might be taken in a foreseeable future by a regulatory authority. The last principle, that is the fifth principle, says the governance framework should ensure that the rights and interests of the beneficiaries are protected and the activity of the organization promoted their well-being. The NGOs with good corporate governance should be sensitive to the local culture and customs of the host community, ensure that its activities do not conflict with the protection of human and civil rights of the members of the beneficiary community, ensure that its activities are consistent with the long-term development of the best of the host community, ensuring transparency in communication with the host community. In our view, other policies such as financial policy, conflict of interest policy, harassment policy, and other standard operating procedures to systemize the regular operations and activities of the organization should also be a part of good governance structure. Thus, it is advisable that all NGOs have a good corporate governance structure in place and follow good governance practices to strengthen its only internal systems and processes in order to establish a reputation, reliability, and credibility of the organization by exhibiting accountability, transparency, and responsibility. If you conduct a survey, you will find most of the organizations who have earned repute in the field of social activities are very strong in their governance. Lastly, I would like to add that it's the governance in any organization that can either ensure that it moves towards the right direction of achieving the mission and vision for which it was started, or lose track of itself due to failure in building systems and processes and ultimately end up on the wrong side. So I hope the management who are still lagging behind on the implementation of good governance framework in the organizations will start working on it now, as sooner the better. With the renewals of registrations now required under the FCRA and Income Tax Act in every 5 years, and the kind of intensive scrutiny being conducted, it's very essential for the organizations to understand the role of good governance structure and start framing the systems, policies, and procedures to ensure accountability, transparency, reliability, and responsibility in the eyes of all stakeholders. I repeat, it's very essential for the organizations to understand the role of good governance structure and start framing the systems, policies, and procedures to ensure accountability, transparency, reliability, and responsibility in the eyes of all stakeholders. For more such interesting topics, keep watching NG Enabler, subscribe it, and put your notifications on. You may also reach out to us through mail or drop your queries in the comment section. Thank you.